right, folks, the stage is set. The players are ready to go. Coaches, please fist bump. Take to your stations. And folks, let's go ahead and make some noise for Twisted Minds versus the Toronto Defiant. Come on, Stockholm.
The stakes are high, with both teams in the loser's bracket. Twisted Minds are the final team left in the EMEA region, and Toronto Defiant are the strongest team from North America. Whoever wins this match will go on to face NRG in the lower bracket semifinal, the match that will decide the best team in the West. The first map of this series was Ilios, the choice of Toronto Defiant. This is a popular choice for Toronto because of their aptitude towards dive compositions. Someone is one of the best Winston players in the world, and Sugarfree is the best Tracer player in North America. This is also an effective choice for Toronto because Twisted Minds can't effectively mirror Winston, and on this first submap Lighthouse, Twisted Minds must run D.Va instead. Toronto Defiant run a standard Winston composition featuring an Ana Brig Ashe core and a Winston Tracer frontline. Twisted Minds have to adapt, placing TVNT on D.Va. Generally, Winston has the advantage in terms of pressure in this matchup against D.Va, and we will also in particular see the impact of Tracer this round. Toronto start off strong. First, Merit lands a perfect dynamite onto Twisted's backline, and RootBall follows up with a nade, nearly taking MCD out of the fight. Toronto don't advance though, opting to play very slowly. Someone makes a quick jump to secure the space above the point, and he just waits. Toronto have realized two things early on. One, Twisted Minds cannot easily pressure the point without dropping their backline and making the first move. And two, Twisted Minds are defensively playing to buy time for Quartz and Lambda to get value. Rather than jumping directly at Twisted Minds, which Twisted would actually prefer with their defensive composition, someone on Winston and Sugarfree on Tracer wait for the point to unlock. They take their time and secure the point easily. Twisted Minds realize what Toronto are trying to do, so they go for the core, while Toronto's frontline are busy on point. TVNT flanks and Lambda advances to pinch and try and secure a kill. Toronto's core play this perfectly though. Someone and Sugarfree don't need support in this moment, so RuPaul and Vega prioritize cutting away and playing for their own lives. Lambda isn't able to find any kills, and RuPaul finishes him off before he's able to escape. TVNT is the next to go, demeched on the way out, and with that, Toronto takes the first fight in this series. While the remainder of Twisted attempt to find their way out, someone in Sugarfree managed to catch MCD off guard, a valuable stagger that forces Twisted to wait for their Ana's return. RuPaul is the key for the next fight for Toronto. He has built Nano far before MCD, meaning Toronto can take an early fight, and if executed correctly, they will win easily. Vega sits ready on the low ground, ready to advance with the Nano. Although Brig can be used to protect Ana, you don't always want to have your Brig right on top of your Ana. If you're taking an aggressive fight, the Brig's positioning should reflect that. Ana can continue to assist an aggressive fight from range, Brig simply cannot. RuPaul nanos someone, and then TVNT responds almost instantly with a perfect boop that removes someone from the high ground. The play from Toronto failed, now it's Twisted's turn. Vega is in an awkward position while RuPaul is left alone on the high ground. Lambda quickly moves to punish RuPaul alongside MCD's nano boost. RuPaul drops and Vega rotates to assist, but doesn't make it in time. Someone does attempt to counter-hit Twisted's core, but he's slept and deleted shortly after. Twisted did finally capture the point, but with 73% on the board for Toronto. The early cap during the first fight combined with the stagger has left Twisted Minds with little room to work with going forward. Up until now, Quartz, the star Hitscan player for Twisted Minds, hasn't been able to do much. It has been difficult for Quartz to find any sort of angle on Toronto so far, and he just wasn't given many opportunities to take a shot due to how these first few fights played out. For Twisted's first defensive fight, he will now have some amount of freedom in his positioning, so he plays to control an angle point side at the Lighthouse. Starting low ground is easy because you can use Coach Gun to escape to the high ground. Someone observes the positioning from Quartz and decides to take the path of least resistance, rotating through the cage to close the distance to Twisted's Ana Brig backline. At the same time, Sugarfree begins to force the point. Here, you can see the absolute pressure this composition is capable of producing. If TVNT runs to contest point, someone is left unchecked. If TVNT runs to contest someone and protect his backline, Sugarfree will flip the point. Twisted really only have one option, and that is to give up the point to Toronto and try and kill the backline, win the fight, and then recapture the point for themselves. Lambda drops down and hits the barrage, trying to kill Vega, who simply walks out of the way. TVNT tries to defend him with the Matrix, but it wasn't enough and Merit finishes him off. Twisted's frontline failed. Someone reaches Twisted's backline and pulls out the Primal to continue his advance. Bliss uses Rally in a desperate effort to fight back, but he's knocked out of the window. At this exact moment, Sugarfree finishes capturing the point, and then moves to land a Pulse Bomb onto MCD. But here's the funny part. That Pulse Bomb didn't actually hit MCD. When Bliss fell out of the window while fighting someone, he practically fell right on top of the Pulse Bomb, protecting his Ana until the very end. Twisted reset, but they don't have much time due to Sugarfree's early cap during the previous fight. TVNT is the first to contest, sacrificing his mech and using his bomb to reset. Lambda loops around the backside of Lighthouse and secures a kill into Merit, and Sugarfree quickly trades, punishing Lambda and then moving onto the backline. Quartz, from an angle, throws the Bob onto point and escapes someone, kiting away while Bob flips the point in favor of Twisted. Quartz then rotates around Cage and eliminates Vega with Dynamite, forcing Toronto to temporarily retreat and regroup. Twisted understand that in a longer fight that they are doomed to lose control of the point, so they decide to take the next one even faster. MCD nanos Lambda, who dive bombs Vega. RuPaul then proceeds to somehow break Lambda's ankles and escape while Sugarfree does the same exact thing that he's done every single fight and caps the point for free. Merit picks up a quick kill onto Lambda, and now Toronto have the advantage, with Twisted forced to spend their resources contesting point. RuPaul nanos someone who jumps Twisted's backline and is slept by MCD. Quartz then hits a perfect shot onto RuPaul, who is standing out in the open, and Twisted recapture the point again, just barely holding on. Quartz then makes his way back up on top of Lighthouse, where he eventually lands a headshot onto Sugarfree, with the kill secured by Lambda. Vega is back in the fight, and he quickly jumps onto point, whipping Quartz off the point, and using Rally to ensure he finishes the kill. Merit kills Lambda from afar, and throws Bob onto point to continue to keep the pressure up. Although Bliss does rally, it doesn't mean much, as Toronto have the numbers and ultimate advantage. Toronto clean up the rest of Twisted, and they secure the round 100-69.
Ends up taking down Sugarfree with a body shot. Someone might be able to do it though, but against the Rally it's going to be a hard-fought ask, but it's all good, because you can always rely on Merit. Lambda down, the health bars are dwindling for Twisted Minds. Toronto in control. 69% is all they're going to get. Toronto take the first round.
The next submap is Ilios Well, and here, Twisted Minds will be able to run their signature Malga composition. Lighthouse is a particularly difficult map for Brawl compositions, so that's why we see Malga here, but we saw Diva on the previous submap. Toronto stick with their default Ana Brig Winston composition. To start, Toronto perform their default rollout, with Vega jumping across the gap to take a position on the windmill alongside Merit's Ashe. RuPaul sticks behind, playing in a more defensive position. TVNT sees this positioning from Toronto and decides to rotate opposite towards Cage, taking the path of least resistance that allows both Quartz and Lambda to have an angle. Toronto see the Malga, and they know that they need to take angles to win. Someone can't dive the Malga composition directly. Brig Juno will easily sustain, and TVNT will just blow him up, so a direct engage is only possible if Toronto gains some sort of an advantage. Although Brig Juno has a significant amount of sustain, it does have a weakness: anti-healing. We've seen it with Energy Shock's Junker Queen composition, which was used to defeat ENCE 3-0 in the first round of the lower bracket, and we see it here in the form of Ana nades. If RuPaul is able to hit one solid nade on Twisted's backline, everything falls apart. Knowing this, RuPaul rotates from the right side, where his LOS is limited, over towards the left side, where he can nade Cage. Someone also performs a quick setup jump to place himself above Cage, while Sugarfree wraps the whole way around to create yet another angle. The fight begins with a nade from RuPaul, and Bliss pretty much blocks it by accident. This is the second interesting block from Bliss this map. Bliss also blocks the dynamite from Merit. After the nade is thrown, Lambda locks in onto RuPaul and takes him out. Someone tries to block the hit with a bubble, but Lambda was simply too smooth with it. Someone and Sugarfree do their best to contest the point, playing safe and leaving after the bubble expires. Twisted capture the point, and Lambda turns the corner on the windmill, booping Vega off of the map. Merit jumps off of the map and Toronto reset, with Vega swapping over to Lucio. The swap makes sense since Brig isn't as useful for protecting Ana against this Mauga composition. Lucio allows for more mobility for RuPaul on Ana, and allows Vega to dive and follow up on nades from RuPaul alongside someone in Sugarfree. Toronto start this fight the same as always, first sending Sugarfree back behind Twisted Minds to get set up, but Lambda is able to mark Sugarfree and send him right back to the spawn room, instantly ending this fight. Lambda is a serious problem this round and Toronto need a solution. Someone first sets up cage side, then makes a jump to assist Merit, who is looking to punish Quartz. Once Quartz and Bliss have been cleared, Merit throws the Bob, and here is where a mistake from MCD is exposed. Early on during this fight, MCD threw down the speed ring, possibly looking to use Orbital to take this fight first. The problem was that Toronto just weren't in a position where it would be reasonable for Twisted to push, so MCD had to back off. It took MCD far too long to back off, and by the time he began to make his rotation towards Cage, Merit was able to swing and catch him right in the open. MCD needed to rotate sooner and also be more considerate of his usage of his speed ring and fly. This mistake also means that Twisted Minds have lost their only available ultimate, Orbital, so they have to back away. Sugarfree chases and then throws the Pulse Bomb onto TVNT, which brings an end to this fight. Although this Pulse Bomb wasn't necessarily the worst, it might have been a bit of a waste. Toronto had already taken Orbital off the table for Twisted Minds, and winning this fight without the Pulse Bomb wouldn't have been that difficult. It's a difficult call to make, but every ultimate matters. Toronto set up aggressively for the next fight. Their goal is to use an early Winston engage alongside a potential nade to hit Twisted Minds on their initial rotation towards the point. Twisted see the positioning and walk top right. They know they need to clear the high ground and can't walk main. As soon as TVNT walks far enough forward, someone makes his move, jumping directly into the backline of Twisted Minds. RuPaul likely didn't give someone Nano here because he has Primal. It would be more effective to either Nano someone else, not the player someone, like literally someone else, such as Sugarfree, or Nano someone, yes, the player, after the Primal to keep him in the fight. This concept only applies for the dive versus brawl matchup and does not apply to the dive versus dive matchup. As someone lands, he throws down his bubble and pops Primal. Simultaneously, MCD uses Orbital and TVNT does a 180, turning to charge and stomp someone. This stomp, combined with the damage boost from the Orbital, essentially allow Twisted Minds to insta-kill someone in his Primal. Now the odds are against Toronto. They completely disengage to the back of point and will now focus on contesting until someone returns. TVNT takes this opportunity to advance onto the opposite side of the point towards Toronto. Lambda wraps around the windmill and catches Merit. Vega trades, but TVNT trades right back, securing the fight. Someone has returned on D.Va, and he contests as long as he can. Twisted flipped the point, and now Toronto only has beat going into the next fight. The D.Va swap from someone is an adaptation against the Mauga composition. Although D.Va isn't the strongest in dive mirrors, she is often stronger against brawl compositions such as Twisted's Mauga. Toronto quickly secure control over Windmill, setting Merit up on an angle. Lambda attempts to contest the move, but the timing is poor and someone marks. Vega drops an aggressive beat. Toronto need to win this fight fast before Twisted can drop their rally and cage to sustain. While this is happening, RuPaul is playing from a distance, and Quartz looks to shut him down. When RuPaul goes to re-peek, Quartz predicts and kills RuPaul around the corner. Bliss uses Rally, stunning Vega, and TVNT traps him with the cage, securing his fate. Toronto do their best to contest. First someone flies onto point, then Sugarfree has the next touch. After using Recall, Sugarfree wraps around to contest Quartz, who takes the 1v1, winning without too much issue. Quartz lands a dynamite onto Vega, who burns to death. Next target is RuPaul, who had returned on Juno to contest, and finally, someone.
I think it's too little, and it's way too late.
The final submap is Ilios Ruins, and here, Toronto's dive is no longer viable. Someone moves over to the Mauga, and Sugarfree onto Genji. Ruins is one of the best Widow maps in the game, the perfect opportunity for Quartz on Twisted Minds. Toronto knows the Widow is coming, so they have Merit mirror the pick. Both teams are cautious to start. Toronto rotate in through the enclosed lane, avoiding the line of sight of Quartz, while Twisted Minds rotate opposite on statue side. What's interesting about how Toronto play here is that they are avoidant. Merit is completely avoiding the Widow duel with Quartz, playing very patiently and avoiding any risky moves. Sugarfree sits in the enclosed lane, waiting patiently as well, while someone in Vega hold down the point. Toronto know that Twisted Minds will have to advance once point unlocks, so Toronto can almost AFK until that happens. Once the point unlocks, Toronto's plan commences. Twisted push point, leaving Quartz wide open. Sugarfree moves out from the enclosed lane, immediately placing pressure onto Quartz. When TVNT charges in with the speed ring, someone counterstomps, bringing him low. Just as TVNT attempts to escape, Sugarfree jumps in from behind. Someone stomps Bliss, and Toronto convincingly take this first fight. While Twisted regroup, Merit lands a quick headshot onto Labda, but Quartz is almost immediately able to trade out with a shot on Sugarfree. Both teams are now down a DPS player. Twisted Minds advance, and Quartz grapples into position, taking a quick body shot from Merit. Quartz looks for another, and this time catches Vega in a frame-perfect shot just as he drops his shield. This shot was impressive, but we will see even more from Quartz as this match goes on. Twisted recapture the point, and Quartz practically won that fight all by himself. Toronto were able to quickly regroup, they had only lost 2 the previous fight, everyone else was able to live. Toronto began by rotating through statue side, and TVNT responds by charging in and dropping his cage. Unfortunately, Twisted are about to lose this fight, and it is the fault of TVNT. Because Toronto have a slight ult advantage, the key to winning this fight lies in Labda's barrage, which can be used to burn down someone in the cage fight mirror. The problem is that when TVNT drops the cage, Labda simply doesn't have the barrage ready, and he does not have enough time to build it either. Someone mirrors the cage, and both teams use their orbital ray. Toronto focus on breaking TVNT's cage because TVNT didn't even trap Vega inside, so he simply stands outside and breaks it, trusting someone to survive. Once the cage is broken, Vega bashes in, killing MCD, Labda, and MCD. Quartz tries Root Ball and kills Sugarfree, but it isn't enough and Toronto take control. Twisted Minds have one good fight left, and they decide to take a rotation through the enclosed lane, looking to brawl with Bliss's rally. We will see a similar approach with Toronto this fight as we saw in the first fight. Quartz has been left wide open on an angle, and so Root Ball drops a speed ring, and Sugarfree hunts Quartz down with a vengeance. A dash right click on top of a solo blade puts an end to Twisted's human aimbot, and Sugarfree uses his dash to hop back into the fight, slashing Labda and securing the kill with a deflect. TVNT and Bliss desperately look for a trade, and TVNT charges in, and someone countercharges with Bliss using Rally. A second charge from someone ends Bliss, and TVNT falls after. Twisted Minds are simply out of time.
I'm trying to get an angle, it's going to be tough. Play comes in, Quartz down, hunting, searching for his next target. Labda, oh, what a reflect! Labda dead, 2 kills for Sugarfree. Riley ends up coming in for Bliss. A pretty late one, but they're going to have to press the issue now. Twisted Definer running away with this. Look at this small room. Sugarfree's just getting reset after reset. Labda's back from spawn, having to go straight back. Doesn't want to fire a rocket once again. 5% away, Toronto defiant. And the hand is Sugarfree there. They end up taking the first map.
The loser has the map pick. Twisted Minds can choose from the map pool, and can choose any map type except for Control, since Control has already been played. JMac, the head coach for Twisted Minds, went with King's Row, a map that allows for Ashe and Widowmaker play from Quartz, and is also one of the better Pharah maps in the game for Labda. King's Row also easily allows for TVNT to continue to run the Malga, so in a way, it's the perfect environment for Twisted Minds' Malga composition. Twisted Minds start on attack, Toronto defend. Toronto are expecting Widowmaker out of Quartz, so they decide to go with a unique strategy that is specific to this first point. A D.Va-based dive composition that has merit on Widow to directly contest Quartz. On first point, the various high grounds are key, and Brawl compositions tend to struggle to take and continue to control those high grounds. The idea is to focus on clearing and controlling those high grounds, which denies Quartz space on Widowmaker and also places pressure onto the remainder of Twisted Minds, who might be kinda stuck on the low ground. The round starts off slow, with TVNT charging to the point, taking an anti to the face, and immediately backing off. Twisted move back in shortly afterwards, and someone, who is contesting the point, is forced away. The strategy from Twisted Minds is to force point, and Toronto must land nades or have Merit land a shot to open up opportunities to contest the point and contest TVNT. RuPaul's second nade doesn't land, and Quartz is keeping him in check. Sugarfree's job on Tracer is to hunt Quartz. He loops back around the Twisted spawn and forces Quartz off of the high ground. Sugarfree continues to pressure Quartz, forcing his grapple, then wraps around to come at him from a different angle. Then, Quartz lands the goob shot of the day, predicting the recall perfectly. TVNT slams someone, and then RuPaul jumps off of the high ground looking for a desperate nade to try and turn this fight. At first I thought RuPaul had fallen due to a boop, but it seems like this move was entirely on purpose, and RuPaul was immediately punished afterwards. Twisted Minds take this first point in a little over a minute. Toronto's dive composition is only viable on the first point, so they make a massive swap in their composition, although their choices were unexpected. Someone moves over to Junker Queen, a choice we've almost exclusively seen out of NRG during this tournament. The composition is viable though, and JQ's Rampage can decimate the Juno Brig backline, the only real counterplay being Malga Cage, which cancels Rampage. Merit kicks off this fight with a pick onto Labda, which Quartz immediately trades because of course he does. Quartz moves up to the window but is marked by Sugarfree. Quartz drops, kills RuPaul, and now Toronto just trying to trade. Sugarfree attempts one more hit onto Quartz, but that is brought to an end. Toronto still lack ultimates, so Twisted have a major advantage in the next fight. Quartz and Merit start with their sights, staring at each other through a wall. Yeah, they do this for a solid 10 seconds, it's really funny. MCD drops the speed ring and TVNT charges in, using the cage solo on someone. MCD even goes as far as to use the orbital as well, and yeah, that secures the kill into someone, I would hope so. Although this was a bit overkill, Twisted Minds simply couldn't afford to lose such an advantageous fight. It's better to overuse ultimates and reach the next checkpoint than risk losing. Toronto still lack ultimates, but Vega does use the rally to attempt to hold on until Sugarfree or RuPaul can build their ultimates. It wasn't effective. Twisted are able to clean up with little resistance. They have 5 minutes to capture the third point. Toronto makes one more swap for this last point, with Vega moving from Brig over to Zen. This is an approach utilized by teams in the past, but it does have its limitations. It will force Toronto to play defensively to bait Twisted into Vega's Zen, who has to play further back. If Toronto fails to play within Vega's LOS, there will be consequences. Quartz opens the fight with yet another pick, this time onto Sugarfree. RuPaul immediately drops the speed ring in orbital and is able to find a trade in Labda. Unfortunately, this is where someone makes a critical fundamental mistake. He continues to advance alongside the orbital, placing himself well out of Vega and Merit's reach. When the orbital ends, he finds himself isolated in Twisted's backline, and in a desperate play, he uses Rampage to return to his team. This Rampage was really bad. It only hit TVNT, who was full HP, and was completely fine. Even if the Rampage hit more of Twisted's players, it would have been trivially easy for them to disengage because Toronto cannot chase with their Zen stuck so far back. It probably would have been better if someone died and Toronto reset, because then they would have had something to challenge MCD's orbital. All Toronto have left to deal with that orbital is Sugarfree's blade, and so they need to play first and try to catch Twisted off guard. This is difficult though because Vega's limited LOS leaves someone in Sugarfree on their own in Twisted's backline to try and burst the target without the help of Discord. RuPaul drops a speed ring, and Sugarfree hits the gas. The initial target is MCD, and someone darts in to assist, finishing the kill. TVNT attempts to cage both someone and Sugarfree, but he completely misses the mark. His hands are missing, allowing both players to survive. Toronto Defiant used one ultimate and managed to force 2 out of Twisted Minds, and won the fight without a single casualty. Toronto have their footing back, and they need to use that advantage to buy as much time as possible. Twisted lack ultimates, so they need to wait for an opportunity or until they build a key ult to engage. Toronto can test Cart, but eventually decide to take the fight directly to Twisted, with an aggressive trance from Vega. Sugarfree dives onto Quartz, but the peel from Bliss and MCD is on point, and even with a Junker Queen and Genji in his face, Quartz lives on, with Labda coming to the rescue to close this fight. 2 minutes remain, and both teams have Orbital Ray. There's a problem for someone though. He wants to use his Rampage against MCD's Orbital, but TVNT can prevent this with his Cage. Quartz is able to find another opening pick onto Merit, and Twisted play patiently, backing away when Toronto pushes. Sugarfree holds down the left angle, someone is on the right. TVNT understands someone's dilemma and looks to exploit it early on. He charges into someone and immediately drops the cage before someone is able to react. Both teams drop Orbital, and Twisted work to keep TVNT alive. Sugar-Free strangely decides to hold onto the blade, despite the support of the orbital from RuPaul, and Twisted Minds win the pressure duel, eliminating someone before he's able to use the Rampage after Cage, and Sugar-Free just dies.
There's the Rampage, but oh, where did someone go? He got slingshots to Nambani or something. That was almost the perfect answer, right? You Rampage in the duel, but the damage was just too much. 1 minute and 19 seconds.
Toronto struggled on their defense, but they did manage to make things work near the end on the third point. The JQ composition wasn't bad, but they definitely struggled to find value, so someone will stick with the safer Malga pick for this round. Another interesting choice is Vega on Alari, which is unique, but it can work on first point by playing longer sightlines through main. Merit is on Sojourn. Think of Sojourn as a more mobile Ashe, and she is particularly effective against Malga compositions because of how easy it is to farm Railgun off of Malga himself. The only notable change for Twisted Minds is Quartz moving over to Ashe. Twisted's defensive strategy is a bit strange and very dependent on playing around Quartz. All of Twisted stack on Hotel Lane, leaving the opposite high ground up for grabs. Someone takes this opportunity to wrap around and take the rare Malga flank. This flank never sees any value during this fight though, as Quartz taps Vega, sending him back to spawn. See, they're just relying on Quartz to do something. The goob hit so hard that Vega lost all of his confidence and went back to Brig. Kasaurus needs to keep this guy off of flex support. Vega is not built for this. After Toronto reset, someone takes the same exact position on the high ground, and Toronto's core gives someone time to get into position. As soon as someone is ready, and we're talking about the player by the way, it's not a random person, it's the player someone, Toronto pushed through Hotel while someone drops onto MCD looking to focus him down. After securing that kill, someone backs away looking to live after his backline has fallen. Merit drops Lambda with the Disruptor shot and lands a clean headshot on Quartz, placing Toronto in an advantageous position. Quartz uses Bob, but it had very little effect, quickly burned by someone. Twisted take the chance to regroup, giving 2 ticks on the point to Toronto. As TVNT walks in, RuPaul drops a speed ring, ready to use his orbital. As soon as he gets it, he uses it with MCD mirroring. Merit uses Overclock, and someone finds the first kill onto Lambda. TVNT is able to cage Merit and RuPaul, taking both out, but Sugar-Free immediately makes up for that, dashing through Twisted's backline, taking both supports. Vega does rally, likely scared that this fight was losable, but this was a little bit of a waste. The fight was essentially unwinnable for Twisted Minds. This next fight is one of my favorites from this entire tournament, and was a great demonstration of teamwork from Twisted Minds. Toronto take the fight first, with someone charging in and Sugar-Free using Blade. Lambda's barrage is one of the best ways to shut down someone's cage fight, so Toronto understand that they need to do something about Lambda first. Sugar-Free blades, his target is Lambda, which should theoretically allow someone to cage safely, but Lambda is able to dodge the blade and drop down on top of his backline, using barrage to punish someone. Bliss uses his shield to protect Lambda and stun Sugar-Free and Blade, making for a second easy kill for Lambda. Someone did get to hold on to cage, good decision making, and so that will be Toronto's only ultimate next fight. Someone understands that Twisted are lacking ultimates as well, so he takes this opportunity to open the fight with an easy cage that catches most of Twisted. Toronto are able to clean up quickly, they won so quickly that Twisted still do not have any ultimates to use for their next fight. Twisted have one more chance on second point, and they remain at an ultimate disadvantage. Toronto are smart and open early, starting with a rally where Vega stuns Bliss, allowing someone to easily land the stomp kill. Both teams drop Orbital, but Toronto have a significant advantage. Lambda attempts to assist in this fight with a barrage, and Quartz also uses Bob, but the ultimates were ineffective and came too late. Toronto take the third point, and now have 3 minutes to complete the map. Merit decides to mirror the Ashe for this final point. In this meta, Bob is stronger than Overclock, and it might be easier to contest and utilize the high grounds on this specific point on Ashe. There are positives and negatives to each hitscan pick, sometimes it just comes down to preference or gut feeling. Toronto have no ultimates, so they play slowly, looking to farm, but they do make a mistake, moving a bit too far forward into range of TVNT, who drops the cage. Vega especially should not have been caught here, so this was just a positional error and potentially impatience. The next fight, Toronto make a similar play, quickly swinging the corner and capturing TVNT with the cage before he's able to charge away. Bliss attempts to bail him out with the rally, but with Sugar-Free's blade backing the cage up, it was too difficult for Twisted to save TVNT. Now, neither team have ultimates, and we are nearing final fight territory. Merit makes the decisive move in this fight, first using Bob on the left, and then focusing Lambda, who is on an angle to the right. Lambda falls, and although MCD does get the orbital first, someone is able to charge away and escape, and Merit finds another kill on TVNT. Sugarfree harasses Quartz in the backline, refusing to give him a break, and RuPaul drops his orbital to close out the round.
Slowly but surely, encroaching on that final point. And now they can just play in the rain. It's all Toronto there on that push. 1 minute and 3 seconds.
With only 1 minute and 19 seconds, Toronto have only 2 good fights at maximum. They make a simple change with Merit now on Reaper. The Reaper Genji DPS line wants to play a lot faster, especially against Ashe Pharah, in order to quickly secure a kill. RuPaul starts with a speed ring, and someone fully commits into the backline of Twisted Minds. Merit TPs to the window, looking for an angle, and sees Quartz, although he decides to ignore him to assist someone. This fight is chaotic, and although Merit does find 2, Twisted's backline are able to entirely avoid Toronto's engage with a really solid kite. This was really good. Toronto returned with 10 seconds remaining. Merit teleports to the high ground but is forced away by Lambda. RuPaul drops the speed ring, and then someone, where are you going? All of Twisted turn at once, and someone is annihilated. Toronto did not manage to get a tick, so on their defense, they must play for a draw. For reference, a tick is 33% of the point's capture progress. If a team fails to achieve at least 1 tick, their capture progress doesn't count. So although Toronto did get some capture progress, none of it counts. Toronto start Merit on Widow, expecting the same attacking Widow from Quartz, but Quartz is actually on Ashe. This isn't necessarily a bad thing though. Toronto run Malga, and unlike Twisted Minds, prioritize high ground control, similarly to their previous defense with the Diva composition. TVNT begins to force point, and someone drops the pressure. Both teams play very patiently, especially considering Twisted are nervous about Merit's Widow. TVNT overstays his welcome on point, and Toronto are able to hunt him down and finish him off, leaving Twisted Minds with 1 more fight and neither team of ultimates. Quartz swaps to Widowmaker, and now, as always, everything comes back to Quartz. Toronto make their move, running at Twisted with someone slamming TVNT. Lambda punishes Sugarfree, Merit finishes TVNT, and then Quartz grapples up to the high ground, securing a fight-winning kill on RuPaul.
TVNT still going super low though. Oh, and Quartz is the perfect shot! RuPaul Vega down. It's all on Merit now, but Quartz says absolutely not. This is my map. Twisted Minds. They wipe Toronto to fight off this, and they're gonna tie the series up.
This is my longest main channel video ever, nothing else comes close, and this video took a lot of work. If you want to see more videos like this from me, long and short, consider supporting me on Ko-fi, which is basically Patreon but better. I receive 95% on memberships and 100% of one-time donations in Ko-fi, so it's the best place to support me and help me upgrade my equipment and help me financially while I'm in school. You can even get videos like this early with a membership, so if you're interested, make sure to check that out. Alright, back to the game. The match is even, and it's Toronto's turn to pick. Kasaurus, the coach for Toronto Defiant, takes the obvious choice. Control and Hybrid are gone, so the Defiant go to Escort, Watchpoint Gibraltar. Gib is one of the most dive-oriented maps in the game, and could even be considered the most dive-oriented. This is a map where Malga will be near unplayable, and it'll force Twisted Minds to adapt, similar to Ilios Lighthouse. Toronto are in yet another Winston dive composition, with an on-a-brig cast core, while Twisted Minds decide on a risky strategy. This composition might look like a dive composition because there's a Diva there, but it's absolutely not. Juno Brig are a brawly backline that you must play around, and Cass May are also a brawly DPS line. This is just a brawl composition with a Diva, and Diva is useful because she can be used to mark high ground positions, eat Ana nades, and act as a defensive tool against dives from Toronto. This is a great example of why individual heroes aren't simply dive or brawl, and why those terms can really only be used to define compositions in a general sense or actions during a fight. Twisted Minds composition is simply good at the action of brawling, so that's why we're considering it a brawl composition. Twisted start out slow. Their plan first requires them to get the cart underneath the high ground. TVNT defends his backline, going for a quick boop on RuPaul to throw him behind Lambda's wall before returning and joining his team underneath on cart. The plan is to force the cart and wall off and burst any target that attempts to contest the cart. On Toronto's side, someone understands Twisted's goals and does not directly engage, instead hiding behind the payload to stall. Toronto need to win a battle of attrition. A direct dive into Twisted's backline will always fail. Toronto can only engage if provided an opening, and Anti-Nade is an ability that can absolutely create that opening. RuPaul drops behind on the other side of the tunnel, and someone simultaneously drops in onto the backline. Then he lands, and that's all someone needed. The rest of Toronto drop, and they know that they can win the head-to-head brawl with the nade advantage. Merit finds 3 kills in the cleanup, and now Twisted must reset and try again. As soon as Twisted start their rotation, RuPaul hits MCD with the nade, and someone follows up. MCD only barely survives. Someone plays to stop Cardigan, refusing to engage, so it is up to Twisted to make the next move. Quartz and Bliss take a flank, but RuPaul marks it with an anti. TVNT struggles to clear Sugar Free, trying desperately to get Toronto off of the cart so Twisted can get it under the high ground. Toronto simply wouldn't give, so Twisted decide to make a rotation as a team onto the high ground. This plan is successful and forces RuPaul and Vega to rotate away, and Merit is caught out by TVNT. Someone falls with the help of MCD's orbital, and Twisted are finally able to get the cart underneath and progress. Both teams have ultimates, and Twisted are one fight win away from the first checkpoint. Someone is the first to drop in, and as expected against the Brawl composition, first uses Primal without Nano from RuPaul. This is where someone, somehow, mind controls every member of Twisted Minds into using their ultimates at once. TVNT was completely lost, he did not know where he was going. Lambda threw a blizzard at someone who was already gone, Bliss was threatened by someone's aura and used the rally, and Quartz wanted to zone someone with the Deadeye, I guess. Honestly, there's no real explanation for what happened here. The funniest part is that someone never actually goes below half health this entire fight. He took the mythical 1-4 ult trade and he was just a chill guy. Sugar Free is there to contest, followed by someone who has provided the nano from RuPaul. Vega also drops in with the rally. This might have been a slight overult from Toronto, but either way, they still have the advantage with only one chance left for Twisted Minds. The round isn't over yet though. Merit gets a little overzealous and pays for it. Lambda boops Vega off the high ground, but he escapes TVNT with a bash. Someone now rushes to build yet another Primal, while Sugar Free removes MCD and Twisted's potential orbital out of the fight. Sugar Free continues to advance with a missed pulse on Bliss, but he finishes the kill with the melee anyways. He's traded with Lambda afterwards. With Sugar Free soloing the backline, Toronto will full hold Gibraltar.
Sugar Free's done it again. Bliss dead, Quartz down. 5 seconds to go. Who's here? It's only TVNT without a self-destruct. That ain't happening. He gets another touch. De-suited. And Toronto defiant. They're gonna hold Twisted Minds on that first point. It was like 0.95 meters from getting there.
Some say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and it, well, not working. And if that's true, Twisted Minds are honestly more than insane, because I am sorry, but this is not working. We've seen strategies like this in the past on Gibraltar, and they almost always fail. I'm honestly surprised that teams still try these kinds of bunker compositions on this map. A spawn hold probably would have been better than this. Twisted, as expected, bunker down underneath the high ground in the tiny mega room. This is basically the inverse approach as their attack. They just want to stop the cart for as long as possible. Once again, directly engaging without a real opportunity will result in failure for Toronto, so angles are key. While the rest of Toronto slowly push cart, RuPaul rotates up through high ground. He waits for a moment, making sure his team is ready, then jumps down and throws the nade. TVNT found his hands, and he actually managed to eat this one, which is really impressive, so Toronto continue to keep their distance. Twisted realize they can't sit still forever with an Ana on their flank, so MCD drops the speed ring and they look to brawl, while also sending Lambda to mark RuPaul. After Twisted's quick and unsuccessful engage, it is Toronto's turn. Merit throws the dynamite and someone commits. TVNT attempts to look for a target, but RuPaul instantly nades him. Twisted are cornered, and Vega gets infinite value with the Brig Brawl. It took less than a minute for Toronto to break the bunker. Even worse for Twisted, Toronto have a decent ultimate advantage, especially with Primal nearly ready to go. RuPaul hides on a little flank, ready to nade as soon as they walk through the door. TVNT doesn't see RuPaul, but Quartz does, and before he's able to finish the kill, RuPaul throws the nade, landing yet another absolute goob.
Look at where RuPaul is sitting too. Hit him with the nade.
Does TVNT know? I don't think he does. Oh, Quartz does! A 4-man anti might just do it though. Bliss and MCD struggling to stay alive. Same with TVNT. A D-Mech and a Primal Rage. A very angry someone you have to deal with now, and that's not gonna happen. Toronto Defiant now on match point. 1 map away from knocking Twisted Minds out of the competition and EMEA as a whole.
It's match point and it's Twisted's choice of map. Unfortunately, there aren't many good options. Both clash maps are very close quarters and are difficult for both Lambda and Quartz. For Flashpoint, Saravasa could be a viable option, although not perfect. And New Junk City is close quarters like the clash maps, so it's not great either. The best map for Twisted is Push, and they also have more options there, and so that is where we will see Twisted Minds take Toronto for map 4. The map of choice? Runasapi. Toronto have Merit on Sojourn, which we've talked about before, and Twisted Minds are running their default Malga composition. Twisted have to win here to keep their tournament run alive. Toronto rotate out wide while Twisted play opposite. This positioning from Twisted forces Toronto to close distance through open space to reach Quartz and Lambda, and is a great example of how to play for range damage. Someone slowly closes the distance while Sugarfree wraps around and finds his own way in. Someone charges while Sugarfree drops in and deflects. Merit is able to find Lambda in an awkward position, and then Merit continues with a headshot on TVNT. Toronto clean up and are particularly far ahead on Rally ult charge going into next. The second fight on Runasapi is often a bit weird, as both teams tend to play very slowly and almost AFK at the corner. The reason for this is that after the first fight, it is common for both teams to lack ultimates, and for either team to swing the corner and continue to advance, you really do need ultimates. Otherwise, it's just too easy for the team who didn't swing to survive and then punish the swinging team. The stalemate goes on for a while, but once Toronto have built their overclock and rally, they decide to make their move. Merit sets up close inside, indicating the aggressive intent from Toronto, and as soon as Twisted reach the corner, Vega rallies and Merit uses the overclock, killing Lambda. MCD uses Orbital in response, but it is already a bit too late. Sugarfree had set up on an angle to engage alongside his team's ultimates from a flank, and he was actually able to catch Quartz off guard, taking him out while Twisted were distracted. This shows just how powerful flanks can be when they're well timed and executed while your team is drawing the attention of the opposing team. Toronto has the momentum, as well as the first checkpoint. They also have an ultimate advantage with Orbital Cage, while Twisted only have Cage. Using Cage without thinking is suicide for TVNT. He needs to be careful. Quartz isn't ready to concede this series just yet, deleting Vega, which forces Toronto to use their ultimates early and look for a trade. MCD uses the speed ring to allow Twisted to escape RuPaul's orbital, and even though it was entirely avoidable, Bliss was hit with the mind control and learned shortly afterwards that he is not that guy. Lambda was also in an awkward position and had to learn his lesson as well. Bliss was not the only player that experienced mind control, as Quartz threw his Bob into the backline, and instead of ignoring it, someone was compelled by the heavens to shoot the Bob while the rest of his team struggled to fight and trade. This cost someone over half of his HP and his dignity. Toronto lost this fight, having gained a total of 82 meters so far, a steady lead. Twisted have an impressive ult bank this fight, but that doesn't matter because RuPaul straight up snaps TVNT's ankles. TVNT's visible confusion is golden. The poor guy, he doesn't know what's happening. Quartz makes up for TVNT's missing hands with a kill onto Merit, 2 headshots and a dynamite around the corner. Quartz will not give up. TVNT, after caging absolutely nothing, is left a little confused as to what he should do, and Twisted's backline are taken out, removing any healing from the field. Twisted do their best to dive in and trade, and this plan actually works out pretty well. Toronto lose their supports, and they can't advance any further. This entirely prevents Toronto from pushing the bot until Vega and RuPaul return, allowing Twisted to take another fight at the same exact location on the map. As soon as Twisted are ready though, Toronto hit the gas with a speed ring and an overclock that Twisted just cannot contest while they're stuck in a tiny room. TVNT attempts to escape but gets stuck, and Merit wraps around to the side door and secures a kill into MCD, removing Orbital Ray for Twisted, and this should have been the end of the fight, but it wasn't. Twisted tried to hold on and contest the corner. Someone used Cage on TVNT, and Lambda broke it with Barrage, with Quartz using Bob shortly afterwards. The Bob was useless and was quickly burned, and with that, Sugar Free used his blade to ensure that Toronto win the fight. Ultimate trades weren't necessarily bad. It was 4-4, but MCD dying first made the fight infinitely harder to win for Twisted Minds. Toronto play first again in this fight. Their general game plan is to try and set the tempo every fight. You see that when someone stops before TVNT does. Someone charges directly into the core of Twisted. MCD uses Orbital, and then someone gets out? Yeah, I don't know how this happens, but someone just kind of leaves for free here. Of course, instead of doing the normal thing, when you see an Orbital Ray, which is, by the way, to run away, Vega is instead compelled to bash towards someone. Tomathan might just be right about main sports and NA. We are completely cooked. Someone then decides to do a loop-de-loop to scan the area and then eventually eliminate Quartz before charging right back into the fight. Toronto are down 2, but someone doesn't even care at this point. He just charges right back into Twisted Minds. He is playing a completely different game. They even get a kill before someone finally explodes, and this little push gets Toronto the whole way to 128 meters. There are 4 minutes remaining. Twisted Minds are running out of time and are getting desperate. We see this in TVNT's next cage, which he uses before Lambda has built his barrage. Nobody can follow up on the cage for Twisted, and Rootball uses Orbital, placing immense pressure on TVNT and on his backline who are trying to keep him alive. The only reason TVNT lives through this Orbital is because Toronto decided he was a non-threat and hunted his backline instead, winning them the fight. At the end, Quartz was also staggered. Not great for Twisted. It's match point, and Toronto are 1 fight away from taking the map. Again, they play first. The blade from Sugar Free puts an end to Bliss with Quartz as the next target. Quartz manages to escape Sugar Free's dash and get the kill, with Lambda solo barraging someone to close the fight. Twisted Minds hold on. 128.19 meters, 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Losing a fight is no longer an option. Twisted have a slight advantage with their Orbital Ray available, while Toronto do not. Merit swings wide and opens his fight with an overclock, but this time, Twisted were fast enough to respond. MCD's Orbital Ray is well timed and TVNT stomps Merit. Quartz kills Rootball and Sugar Free with the Ray, and Twisted Minds win their first fight with many more to go. The problem Twisted need to overcome this fight is Rootball's Orbital Ray, which is 80% charged. If he builds it and is able to use it effectively, it could result in an instant loss for Twisted. Quartz starts on the flank, landing 2 shots onto Vega, almost killing him before being marked by Sugar Free. Quartz escapes, but now Twisted need to worry about the imminent orbital from Rootball. Fortunately for Twisted Minds, Toronto make an error. Vega and someone are set up close on the corner, and Vega bashes in to use Rally when Rootball is at 95% on his orbital. He does not have it yet. Vega dies before Rootball even has Orbital, and by the time the Orbital's been used, someone is already dead. Toronto messed up, and they messed up badly. Twisted Minds used 3 ultimates for Toronto's 2, but winning that fight was worthwhile, and Toronto only have Cage available for the next fight. Twisted Minds take the first checkpoint, 50 seconds remaining. Quartz does Quartz things and obtains an early pick onto Merit. Toronto decide they want to commit and trade. Rootball throws the speed ring, and someone charges the whole way into Twisted's backline to drop the cage. Sugar Free does deflect Lambda's barrage in an incredible showing of awareness, but someone is already too low, and the damage is already done. Rootball does kill MCD with the help of the torpedo shot, but DVNT cleans up the backline. That's fight number 3. Now we're entering overtime. Twisted Minds must always have a player on the cart. Quartz starts up on an angle again, throwing a dynamite before leaving to join his team. Sugar Free dashes up into the air, attempting to blade Lambda, but he hits the corner of the rooftop, halting his momentum. Sugar Free drops back to the ground and looks to swing on Bliss, trying to get anything out of this blade, but Quartz takes him out along with someone. Merit drops on a flank from the window and kills Bliss, but Quartz takes his life as well. That's number 4. 40 meters to go, and Twisted Minds are met with a difficult ultimate matchup. Toronto have Orbital Ray, and Bliss is in spawn, so Twisted will not have the Brigitte or the Rally available early on in this fight. Quartz plays forward, his objective is to build Bob as fast as he physically can. And just as Toronto engage with Rally and Orbital, Quartz is able to throw out the Bob, having built it just in time. Unfortunately, somebody on Twisted needs to hold on to the point, so TVNT is stuck and he uses his cage to survive for as long as he can. The Bob finds Sugar Free and Quartz kills Merit. Toronto burn the Bob, but Bliss is back just in time with the Rally. Twisted Minds need to win right here and now without their tank. Quartz hops up onto the high ground, landing a dynamite from an angle, while on the side of Toronto, someone tries and fails to kill Lambda, getting stuck on map geometry on the way out. Sugar Free is the first to touch, and on his second touch, Lambda kills him with the barrage. This opens up an opportunity for RuPaul to trade Lambda, and now Merit is also back with a rail shot on Quartz. TVNT returns on Diva, killing Merit, and then RuPaul, who is attempting to contest. Someone is the final member of Toronto who can touch, he jumps in to slam the cart, and Bliss hits the whip shot that decides the match.
The barrage is too much for them. RuPaul at least kills one, but Merit kills another. TVNT on the Diva manages to kill Merit. A couple more meters to go, and the whip shot!
Nice!
Five consecutive fight wins, Quartz doing the absolute most Hitscan player can physically do, and Twisted Minds have done the impossible, recovering from a 128-meter deficit and taking Toronto Defiant to a fifth and final map. Nobody could have expected that Twisted Minds would be the last hope for EMEA, making it farther than both SSG and ENCE. I underestimated them, the whole world underestimated them. TVNT, the rookie tank that took Kellen's place after a difficult stage, Lambda, who has made fair work in every situation and has managed to improve Twisted in the place of Yubi, and Quartz, the best hitscan in the West. Even after losing KSA and replacing their backline, Twisted Minds have persevered. 4 maps remain in the pool between Clash and Flashpoint, and we already know that Toronto aren't going to take this series to Surabasa. Kasura's choice is New Junk City. The choice is almost obvious. This is the same map where Sugar Free had his star performance against Nightmare in NA Grand Finals during Stage 4. This is Toronto's home turf, an enclosed map where Pharah and Ashe will often struggle, and where Sugar Free's Genji will thrive. The final map begins, and Merit is sticking with the Sojourn. Quartz, on the other hand, is on a bizarre pick, Symmetra. The first point on New Junk City is always the same, and it is enclosed. The remaining 4 points consist of 2 enclosed and 2 open points. Enclosed points are better for brawly picks such as Genji, and open points are better for ranged picks such as Pharah or Ashe. My best guess is that Quartz felt that first point was too difficult on Ashe in scrims, and decided to run Symmetra to throw his opponents off guard, and because he felt like it was a better pick. Twisted reached the point first and play close to shove Toronto in the choke. TVNT is forced away, and someone uses this opportunity to slam in. The target is someone, but Merit is caught in the crossfire and dies to a full beam Quartz. TVNT took too much damage due to getting forced out early on, and so someone wins the Malga duel. I don't really like this play from TVNT. Quartz couldn't really help him so far up, and it would have been better to play a normal neutral from a distance. From here, Toronto are able to clean up with relative ease, and they take the first fight. Quartz does not swap. Someone starts close, similar to TVNT, but Toronto were ready and could play around it. Someone leaves before he takes too much damage. Lambda attempts to enter, but in such a tight space, it was easy to punish, with RuPaul's Nerf Blaster sending Lambda right back to spawn. TVNT felt compelled in this moment to charge someone while half HP. Someone hits him with the countercharge, and this puts a definitive end to fight number 2, with Quartz still failing to get any value out of the Symmetra pick. Twisted will have one more rushed fight on this first flashpoint. Because they need to contest, Twisted Minds roll out underneath. Someone in TVNT butt heads on point, and the fight quickly devolves. Vega rallies and runs straight into Twisted's backline, and Bliss mirrors the ultimate. RuPaul drops the orbital, and Sugar Free throws himself up into the air and proceeds to get stuck on the outside of the point. The only thing stopping this man is map geometry. He cannot get a break. Someone isn't letting Sugar Free throw this fight. He drops the cage and gets the business, first killing TVNT, who couldn't get behind the sim wall because of the cage, and then securing Lambda as well. Sugar Free does get back into the fight and kills the supports, but let's be real, that point was a tank diff. Again, someone starts this fight with a bang, charging into Twisted Minds on their rotation and stomping Quartz, who falls essentially to 1 HP. Against all odds, Quartz survives, and Lambda uses Barrage to shut this engage down. Twisted Minds take this first fight, but the next flashpoint is enclosed like the first one. Like I mentioned before, 3 are enclosed, 2 are open, so Twisted needs to win at least one enclosed point to take the map. They are hoping for an open point either way though, because those points can help them win fights with less ultimates and build momentum going into closed points. The walking aimbot isn't done yet and somehow finds RuPaul extremely early, forcing Toronto to wait for his return. Quartz ended a fight before it even started. Twisted actually have a major ultimate advantage, so when Toronto return, they tread carefully, rotating to take a farther angle to make it more difficult for Twisted to make the first move with TVNT's cage. Sugar Free plays on a completely separate angle. The plan is to engage alongside the blade. Someone charges in, and Sugar Free simultaneously uses his blade. Quartz falls, but TVNT traps Sugar Free with a great cage, and Lambda finishes the kill. This cage also caught someone who is now stuck fighting against an orbital ray. Twisted win this fight, and because of the early pick on RuPaul from Quartz, Toronto took so long to take this one fight that Twisted have essentially already secured the point. Twisted Minds even up the map and have also secured their one enclosed point that they need to win. There is one more enclosed point and 2 open points remaining, and the next just so happens to be another enclosed point. The RNG here for Twisted Minds is absolutely terrible. Sugar Free again starts from a separate angle, and Toronto prepared to engage with their significant ultimate advantage. Someone takes a lot of damage and is forced away, and since RuPaul used Speed Ring, Toronto can't look for another engage until the ring is back up. The timing here for Twisted is perfect. As soon as Toronto began to walk again, Quartz throws the bob and Toronto respond with Overclock and Rally. Lambda also captures the point, so Twisted are now gaining point progress. Because of the bob, Twisted are able to completely disengage, trading their bob for 2 ultimates. The next move from Toronto is to have every player drop after seeing Twisted Minds rotate down lower. This rotation was honestly a little puzzling from Twisted, not exactly sure why they give up the high ground, but either way, Toronto take advantage of that. RuPaul drops the orbital and Toronto are able to win off of that alone, winning the brawl with very little issue. This point is still very winnable for Twisted Minds though. They got 30% progress from that fight alone, and so if they win another fight, they will be in a good position to take a 2-1 lead. This doesn't happen though because Toronto just played this next fight really well. Someone starts off fast, catching the entirety of Twisted Minds in the cage. Merit is also able to dispatch Quartz with a rail shot, so Toronto are up 1. Although Twisted have both Rally and Orbital, they use neither, likely scared to commit after losing Quartz so quickly and getting stuck in this position. Lambda uses the Barrage on the ground in a weird position to try and break the cage, but finds no success and is killed by Vega. The Defiant clean up. They won this fight with 1 ultimate and essentially scared Twisted's backline out of using their support ultimates. Even with such a limited time bank, Twisted decide that they want to try and get one more fight out of this point, with Lambda swapping over to Symmetra to TP Twisted on their rotation to save time. Toronto spawned the TP instantly though, and Sugar Free hits the gas with a blade while someone stomps. This fight was back and forth, with Bliss also using the Rally, but in the end it doesn't matter as the point is locked in for the Toronto Defiant, nobody could touch. The next 2 points are guaranteed to be open, and although this is good for Twisted Minds, they must win both. The ultimates are relatively even. Toronto have both support ultimates, while Twisted have Cage, Bob, and Orbital. Twisted swing wide, playing off of Quartz LOS, and he manages to find a kill on Vega, who had just used Rally, instantly taking that ultimate out of the fight. TVNT does die to Cage, but Twisted's 3 ultimates beat Toronto's 2, and Quartz cleans up the rest. Twisted set up on the top left high ground, and Quartz lands a massive dynamite. When Toronto push, Twisted back, looking to rotate and contest from the opposite side of the map. They are trying to buy maximum time for Quartz to get a pick before the mid-fight brawl begins. Quartz marks Sugar Free, but he escapes, and someone drops the cage on TVNT. This was an overstep from TVNT considering the ult bank for Twisted Minds. They needed Bliss's Rally to win this fight. Quartz knows it's cooked and jumps off the map for a quick reset. This is where Toronto refused to give Twisted Minds a break. They want to win this here and now. Merit lands a cross-mapper on Quartz, and Toronto pushed the advantage, with someone creeping up on Twisted's spawn room. Quartz just won't give up and removes RuPaul, providing Twisted with one last chance. It is winnable for Twisted with Orbital out of this fight. Toronto played a trade. Sugarfree practically ints onto Quartz, wanting him gone, and Merit secures Lambda with the rail shot. Things are looking bleak for Twisted Minds, but a certain tank player has found his hands, and he has a vision. TVNT abandons his team, instead opting to run to point, and he actually manages to flip it. Because Twisted were able to trade, it's possible to take one more fight. Both teams drop Speed Ring, both teams drop Orbital Ray, and now it's down to Sugarfree and Vega for Toronto, and Lambda and Bliss for Twisted Minds.
Two support ultimates in their pocket as well as they start to set up behind this point.
TVNT just saved them, they managed to get the cap. But aid available from Sugarfree as both support ultimates are available for Toronto Divine and Twisted Minds. Junior Ultimates goes against the point first. The barrage all reflected. Blade has been popped, and Sugarfree yet again goes absolutely nuclear. Toronto Defiant. They knock EU's hopes and dreams.
A deflect, a blade, and 1, 2, 3 kills. The greatest Hitscan in the West has been toppled, but not without a massive effort from the best of NA. It was a good run for Twisted Minds, taking a map off of Team Falcons, somehow, and upsetting SSG in the lower bracket, and going on to be the last hope for EMEA. This would also go on to be the most exciting match of the tournament. It was the closest match and the only one to go to a map 5. Runasapi was also, by far, the best map of the tournament, with Twisted Minds making an impossible comeback that was just incredible to watch live. That's part of the reason why I decided to drop a whole feature film for this match. Nothing else at Stockholm really came close. This video was a massive undertaking. It took a ton of time to make, and I appreciate all of you who stayed until the end. And I also appreciate all of you I got to meet in person recently at Stockholm. That was awesome. I got to give out a lot of stickers. It was really exciting. It was cool to watch these matches in person. It's the first time I've ever been to an event. So that's why I haven't posted in a while, for reference. But that was amazing, an amazing experience. And thank you for pretty much enabling me to be able to do that. In the future, I hope to release more longer videos like this, more massive videos like this for exciting series, but I can only do it for those because, well, it takes a lot of time. Shorter videos will still be coming out, as always, because university does get in the way. So give me your feedback, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.